completion so that the next piece of work, which was concrete work, could take place. These are the two quotes that we received. And one was for $1,165 and one is for $4,900. We were just talking before the board meeting. My only concern about it is simply the difference in wanting to make sure they both were thinking they were doing the same work. That'd be my only question about it. Bruce is the one that talked to both of them, and so I think he described it to them as well as took them each out there to look at what was going to go on. So I don't know that there'd be any reason to question that they didn't understand. But that would be a couple of quotes, because that would be some of the first work that would have to be done. Dave had gotten a hold of Stone Contracting, as he said he would, after that last meeting, and that conversation at the last board meeting was about a riser system that would not be a wood structure, but a concrete structure, as well as what I'll call a walkway, but a concrete walkway. And you've got that quote from Stone's for $37,950. And again, all of these would be, this is called a job estimate that he provided. And then in the pages that follow are a couple of emails that I got from Troy at the Bleachers Inc., or the Risers Inc. company in Des Moines, the fellow that came out and looked at everything. The very back page at the top of it says Riser Inc., the old quotes. So those were the options we looked at originally. And one of those, if you remember, was what would it cost to replace a full set of bleachers with new, and that was $65,000. 10 rows at approximately 100 feet. That would replace the 7 sections that are there right now, and then there were other options. After that board meeting, Brent had asked me about an entirely different option, which was to buy 5 new sections of bleachers to replace the 7 that are currently at the football field, and then take 2 sets of bleachers, bring them up to code to put at the start-finish line. That would be 2 sets from the old set of bleachers, also 2 sets to move to the football field, or the softball field, excuse me. And those would all have wood structure under them that Risers Inc. would install and prepare. And that quote is, that page is titled Riser Inc. Additional Quote. Now I guess it's your discussion about, you're thinking about this.
I want to insert something. All of the things that, with the exception of Stones, have about a $10,000 addition to them because they have to have a base underneath them. Because that's what you mentioned before, is that all of these options there have to have the concrete underneath them, which is on the one.
Yep, you're exactly right, because we don't have a concrete quote, and Brent just said probably more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so he thought that that's what they did, so I want everyone to know that.
If we elected option 1, say we replace everything new for $65,000, but we said we want the concrete base put in by Stone, what would the cost then be for full replacement? Because I'm assuming that $65,000 includes some understructure, is that right?
Yes, it would.
His quote included a wooden understructure and all of it. I don't know what the quote would be. I'd have to ask for that. What we'd be asking him is to do the bleacher repair work and set those repaired bleachers on the concrete system that Stone Contracting was quoting us. Is that what you're saying, Doug?
Well, yeah.
Something like that.
Make a concrete number instead of wood.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, if this Stone bid, is somewhere reasonable, or so on the $65,000 we would have to add $10,000 onto that for concrete work.
Probably more than that.
Okay, let's say $15,000. So we're talking $80,000. Okay. Stone's bid is 37, or what was it? Well, it's just 38,000. So we would have to be able to put the new bleachers up for $42,000 to make that wash, right?
If you're doing the math, yes.
Close enough.
Okay.
I would look at it kind of the way you're looking at it, Doug, but the opposite, on what stones, what we have to add to stones to make the bleachers coherent. I don't know what that would be. New bleachers for the entire project is $65,000, which some of that we could also subtract. If we did the concrete structure, we could subtract some of that.
Subtract the wood structure
Yes.
that's under those.
To replace it with the concrete. I mean, that's kind of what Doug did, but.
Plus, I'm
Yeah,
assuming you wouldn't
different
have the additional $15,000 either, would you?
No.
Because that would be part of the 30-something thousand.
I think one of the questions we need to answer first is we're going to replace exactly the same amount of bleachers that are there now. If we're not, this should probably change, correct?
Right.
Because if we reduce down to 5 sections as opposed to 7, then your concrete's not going to be as much. So,
Well,
I think, we need to decide that.
Well, my opinion is I think we should go 70 feet on the 50-yard line of the football field, 30 feet, I believe, on the finish line, and then go ahead and do something with the softball bleachers. So I like the new option. The new option layout.
What is wrong with the old bleachers? There's nothing wrong with the way that the structure is, and I've had that evaluated by him, and he said that the steel that's in there is solid, that there's nothing wrong with it. All it needs is that Rust-Oleum stuff that you can put on there, and we're just throwing away the things that other than that they need to be updated as far as
They need
standards.
they need this list
Yeah.
of things done to them.
Yeah.
So
That's what I called about earlier today, to find out what that little thing would be for that little portion of it that needs updating.
what the cost of
Yeah,
this.
just updating those bleachers. We didn't have that.
well, my thoughts are, I think we either should buy new, or my other thought is if 2 or 3 or 4 sections are good enough to repair and move, that they're good enough to repair and stay where they're at. And then buy something new for the other areas.
For the start finish.
For the start finish, and the softball field, and whatever.
Look at option 3, and I'm not promoting an option, but it might be. Option 3 says that you take the 7 sections that are there, you would repair those to bring them up to code. And that option obviously then, because it came from that company, had a wood structure under it, although we may be talking about doing a concrete structure under it. That quote was $36,000. I can try to call right now if you want me to.
We can probably figure out the other way though too, Barb.
Yeah.
36,000 to install new 10-row by 21 feet elevated softball field, that was 15,000. So it would be, depending on what situation you really want to have, as far as how many sections, you'd have to add 60 grand to that, the way I see it, because 10 row by 21 feet would be, I guess that's different than what we currently have, is 15 feet by 10 rows, correct? So I guess this install, the one new one, would be bigger than a section that we currently have. But you're still looking at, you do one of those, and let's say just one at the start-finish line, that'd be another 30 grand on top of that. You know what I'm saying? You don't understand it? Okay. Well, what you just asked for, okay, the way I get it was, the $36,000 would, this option 3 would
Fix up the old ones.
fix up the old ones.
Okay.
You still haven't addressed an issue, if you consider an issue or not, as far as the start-finish line.
Right.
Or the softball field.
Right,
As well as the
30,000.
concrete.
It'd be another
pad.
30 grand.